Imagine turning a simple idea, walking around a pizza trailer into a thriving franchise with some amazing pizza that is spanning the country. Timber Pizza's journey began in a vintage Chevy, and my guests and I talked quite a bit about where that came from and how it became their signature calling card initially. Now, with over 9 locations and growing, they continue to blend Neapolitan style pizza along with New York style pizza, along with some really cool toppings to innovate pizza in different ways that I haven't seen before. Chris Brady, the co founder and president of the brand, shares all of the different ways that they came to be, where they're looking to go, and how they build lasting relationships in their communities to continue to thrive and grow. He teaches quite a few lessons that he's learned over the years and where he thinks that timber can really make an impact into some of the different regions that they're looking to hit. Check them out at timberpizzafranchise.com. He and I just go super deep on the cool things that they're doing. And quite frankly, stay tuned till the end where he shares what his go-to pizza is for anybody that may be visiting at Timber Pizza. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Julian. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We wrote the North Star point of sale solution for multi-units. Please check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now on to the episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. As I like to say each and every time, I know you guys got lots of choices, so thank you for hanging out with us today. Today, I am excited to introduce our audience to a brand that, quite frankly, until they reached out to be on the show, I hadn't heard of. So I'm excited for Chris to dig into that a little bit and kind of talk about where everything came from and what they've been up to. But Chris, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, and then we can kind of talk about the brand that you get to work with.
Thanks for having me on, Jeremy. Chris Brady, co-founder and president of Timber Pizza Company. We were founded in 2014, started out with a 1967 baby blue Chevy in a pizza wagon, rolling around DC, selling pizza at farmers markets, caterings, and everywhere in between. Got our first store open in 2016. Fast forward several years, and we've been franchising for the past four. We're up to 9 locations between DC, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Excited to be here and tell you a little bit more about what we got going on.
Awesome. Why don't you bring us back to kind of some of the early inception? Because selfishly, I love kind of the founder stories. Did you just grow up loving pizza? Like, talk to us a little bit about kind of where did the foundation of the brand come from, and why did we need another pizza place, I guess, in America?
Definitely. I think for us, a lot of it was, kind of chasing the dream and a little bit of a lifestyle. Neither Andrew, my co-founder, or myself were compatible with the office 9 to 5 life, if you will. So we were
Unemployable.
yeah,
So go create your own employment, right?
I that is a fantastic way to sum it up. We were a couple jobs into our not long for tech sales careers in DC, and we said, this isn't for us. Let's go on long lunches. Let's plan our way out. Let's figure out how we're going to do it. And on my third and final tech sales job, I came across a mobile wood fire pizza operation out of Charlottesville down in Virginia. Go Wahoos. Called Andrew and said, you ever heard of this mobile wood fire pizza stuff? And he said, yeah, I saw this up in Brooklyn. Roberta's did it when I was getting my master's. And I said, this is for us, right? He said, absolutely. 4 months later, we were selling pizza out of the back of a 67 baby blue Chevy.
That part, I think is really cool, and the kind of the Chevy idea. But talk to me a little bit about why pizza, other than it sounds like you guys just enjoy kind of that type of cuisine. Is that really where it came from? And did you have any restaurant background, or was it back to the I'm unemployable and I enjoy eating pizza, so we're just going to go figure out how to make good pizza type of thing?
Yeah, the majority is the latter. Andrew was more fanatical about pizza than I ever was. Pizza, was part of his thesis for his MBA. Like, he was always going to do pizza. For me, it was, how do I have a good time? How do I help people enjoy? I had a decent catering background. I worked for a caterer throughout college. I thought it was just a beer money situation, but it certainly helped prepare me for, helping people have a great time and learn a ton about hospitality. I had some great leaders at that company that I work for here in Annapolis, where I grew up. Helping people have a great time, providing a great experience with a great meal, was something that we had in common, and certainly no strangers to loving pizza, both Andrew and I. That was a heavy percentage of those long planning to escape lunches, if you will.
I love it. So tell me the story about the Chevy. Like, where did that whole thing come from? I I have an affinity for classic cars, and the '67 Chevy, kind of, it's part of. Again, there's lots of classic cars back in those days, but where did that whole thing come from?
Yeah, for us, it was always a laid back, kind of vintage vibe was the brand and the ethos that we were going to project into the world. So it was always a swagger and an old school type of approach that we were going to get. So when we started looking at what was ultimately going to tow this pizza wagon, we weren't necessarily functional first, if you will. It was swagger all day, looking to, make it kind of a little bit of a splash and have people talking about us. So when we were doing our classic car searches from the early morning hours at our desk jobs that we were kind of floating through at that point, and we came across Baby Blue, as we call her, or Old Blue. She was always the one. Got her from Minnesota, arrived on a flatbed. Andrew was the leader and the driver, taking the reins with the stick, and I was usually kind of following him, Smokey and the Bandit style, behind, carrying some of the supplies. So it was
That's hilarious.
if we had footage of those very early days driving around the DMV, man, it was something to behold.
That's awesome. Well, it kind of reminds me of that Great American Food Truck Race that they had on Food Network years ago, where he got the food truck out in front, um actually one of my most recent releases of the show was the guys at Via 313, another pizza concept out of Austin that also started out of a truck, and was the same kind of story. It's a couple of guys that happened to be two brothers that were like, dude, this is the cheapest and easiest way to do it, and now it's 20-ish stores of brick and mortar. And so I guess I'd love, Chris, for you to kind of talk a little bit about, was that really the genesis? Was we couldn't afford a brick and mortar, we couldn't afford to build a full on, so let's start it with the trailer and see if we can make it roll until you got to the brick and mortar? Or did you always have a desire to be kind of mobile and on the road type of thing?
Well, we were definitely, a little bit cavalier with it, so I can't say we had it all, penned and paper.
It wasn't the most the most detailed business plan that you guys threw
No,
together.
we weren't going to banks or getting denied or pitching friends and family. I think we were like, hey, let's take this shot at X before we put a couple zeros behind it. And if it doesn't work out, boo boo. But for us, it was build the brand, really figure out what we were doing. Neither of us were chefs. So we were learning how to try to make great pizza on the fly and see what happens. And then at the end of the day, we got enough traction, got enough confidence, and started putting the pieces around us to help kind of stabilize the cowboy mentality a little bit, as tricky as that was for both of us. But yeah, we build it up, see how it goes, and then kind of brick by brick, if you will.
I love that. And again, selfishly, I love those founder stories because it's always fun just to think. And to your point, I'm sure there was days and weeks when you're like, okay, we gotta have a good sales day today because it's going to be rough this weekend if we don't, type of thing.
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, there was some what are you doing moments. I think, the first winter, snow, ice, you're sitting, in the bathtub just trying to defrost your feet and really thinking deeply like, man, is this it? And thankful for those dark times because they build character.
Yep, no, for sure. So talk to us about the product, Chris. You said it earlier. You guys started without kind of really a clue what you're doing, which is awesome to me, and I love kind of going that route. So there's hundreds of different types of pizza. There's thin crust. There's Neapolitan pizza. There's Detroit style pizza. There's Chicago style pizza. There's Tower style pizza. I'd love for you to kind of talk through, you know, what style of pizza it is for those that haven't been to Timber, and kind of what makes it unique, and then we'll kind of talk through some of the last 10 years of. I'm sure you guys have it's not the original recipe from the original truck, and Baby Blue, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we wanted to make pizza that we combined the best of both worlds, if you will. Like we never were all in on the Neapolitan style, and neither of us were Italian, so we were never gonna follow the protocols to become certified and do all these things and use the strict tomatoes and not put fun ingredients on it. And then a New York slice when it's crispy and delicious, that's always one of the top bites you'll ever have when you're cruising around Manhattan or Brooklyn. So for us, it was kind of blending the best of both worlds. How do we get the chew of the Neapolitan and the traditional wood fire, but also get that crunch and the hold that you're going to get in a more traditional New York slice? So we coined it Neapolitan-ish, if you will. That
Okay.
definitely has stuck. And I think we're not necessarily the trailblazers of that, but I've seen a lot more of it over the last several years. So who knows? Maybe we should have trademarked that thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I actually have a good friend who's from Naples and runs a pizza school out in LA, and he is very much to your point, very strict about only these ingredients and all of that, which is for him, and kind of getting certified on that, and at the same time the thing selfishly and why I was excited to jump on this is pizza is such a blank canvas and it's such an amazing vehicle to deliver ideas and creation. So sorry, I cut you off there, but
No,
let's see.
it's I'm glad you chimed in with that because that's exactly right. I've always looked at pizza similar to a sandwich, right? It starts with a great bread, starts with a great sub roll, hoagie roll, whatever part of the country you're from, and however you want to spin that. Same thing with pizza. If you have an excellent dough, you can take it wherever you'd like to go. We never put any boundaries on our pizza. We started at the farmers markets, legitimately 3 items plus today's special. Andrew and I walking around those early morning hours of the farmers markets, making new friends with the farmers, seeing, what different types of peppers we were going to put on there. We took that too far a few times and had some kind of customers jumping around and we tested the heat meter.
I love that.
Most definitely way too far. But for us, it was what can we do that's fun, inventful, and we weren't trying to like get known for doing crazy stuff on pizza, but we never wanted to put any limits on it. So some of our pizzas that come around seasonally, as we turn our menu every quarter throughout the year, include things like nectarines that some people say, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm telling you, if you try our pizza with nectarines, bacon, and jalapenos, the Norman in the summertime, you'll come back for more. It's an absolute home run.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that out next time I'm in the area where there's a timber pizza and it's that season because I cannot imagine. I mean, I've seen the peaches, which I guess nectarines are just they're very very similar. I've seen the peach or the even the pear and and gorgonzola and whatnot. And so I've never really been a fruit on pizza kind of guy, but kind of cool idea and an interesting thought. So, what is kind of the standard, I guess? Because again, I know when I talk with different restaurateurs, especially in the pizza space, you've got kind of your standards that are here's your top three, top four kind of sellers that everybody expects. They want sausage, they want pepperoni, they want, whatever mushrooms, whatever that might be. And then you've got some creative ideas. And so kind of talk us through what is the menu look like and how much even really of it is traditional versus kind of some of these unique flavor profiles.
Yeah, our menu mix, as far as pizza goes, broken down into three categories. It's red-based pizzas with, our version of our tomato sauce, green-based pizzas that sit on top of pesto, and then white pizzas that are cheese-based. We don't even put any olive oil underneath those. They kind of shine on their own in terms of having enough moisture versus your traditional white pizzas. So it's red, green, white on our menu. Our top dogs that will never go away, of course, cheese, pepperoni. Also, the green monster. That was a day one pizza. Oh, zucchini, kale, feta, and mozzarella. Certainly a little bit interesting there. Some farmers market ingredients you wouldn't traditionally put on pizza. And then, the other pie that has kind of risen to the top over the last 5 years for us is called our Bentley. It's a red sauce pizza with our mozzarella and provolone blend, chorizo and soppressata, both cured Peruvian sweet peppers with a spicy honey drizzle. So the Bentley is an absolute top dog, kind of a pepperoni on steroids, if you will. The honey
Yep.
makes it pop, and the Peruvian sweet peppers get this little char in the wood-fired oven that's hard to describe, but
Yeah,
immaculate.
I love the creativity, and now you're making me want some pizza. I'm like, oh, some of that,
It's
some of that,
Friday. It's
that
pizza night.
ideas. I know
It's
it is
pizza
Friday,
night in
and
America.
I might have to pull some of that off. Chris, now let's talk. I mean, that's you kind of talked about the some of these kind of stalwarts that are on the menu. Talk about some of the seasonal kind of creative ideas that you guys have, and what really is, I guess, talk me through the ones that you didn't think were going to work and just turned out to be bangers on the menu. I'd love to hear some of that.
Yeah, it's perfect. I think, we mentioned the Norman a little bit ago in the summertime, and nectarines on pizza certainly raises some eyebrows, and you probably get 50-50 if you asked 100 people if they'd try that or not, or maybe even in the wrong direction, if you will. But yeah, I think our brand really started in the spirit of collaboration, not only just working with the local farmers and the folks at the farmers market who we were adjacent to, but we never, put ourselves in the category of like, oh, we can do everything better than everyone else, or we'll just do it on our own. But we want to do a collaboration and incorporate, different smoked meats or different ingredients. Especially in the early days in DC, it was so much fun. We partner up with our favorite restaurants, and we still do that today. So one of the winter menu pizzas that we roll out from early January into, that spring menu turn once this freeze finally thaws out is called our Ward 4. And that really started with doing a brisket collaboration with our neighbors in DC, Cinder Barbecue. Got smoked brisket on there. It's an absolute home run. And then we encourage all our franchisees to partner up with their local barbecue kind of top dogs in their markets. It gives you a spirit of collaboration in the community. In Charleston, we're working with Lewis Barbecue, which is, in my opinion, a top 10 barbecue shop in America. I can't wait to be back down there and have a big old platter. So it's just cool. And, we do things like that. That brisket on pizza isn't crazy inventive, but the way that we put it together with microgreens and our, seasonal drizzle and what have you, it's a home run.
It reminds me, I live down in Texas, so you're talking my language. Pizza and barbecue, those are two of the food groups in Texas here for sure. And there's a brand that partnered with Terry Black's, which is a nationally famous Texas barbecue place, and they did the same thing. And it's a brisket pizza. And I haven't been yet, but I was getting advertised it the other day, so it reminds me of that. Chris, talk me through kind of, I guess, the consistency, because you guys are so inventive. You guys are getting outside of the four walls. When you and your partner Andrew were there, like it was probably easier. You knew the zucchini that was going on because somebody that you knew and were really close were picking that at the farmer's market. Today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant Technologies Incorporated. They are the leaders in automated cooking oil management. And if you're not familiar with them, they've been on the show a few times to share some of the unique and cool things that they've been doing in the oil management space. They have an end-to-end closed-loop automated system that helps deliver, monitor, filter, collect, and recycle your cooking oil. Sounds like a lot. It's because they do a ton to help clean up one of the dirtiest jobs and most dangerous jobs in your kitchen. You can check them out by visiting rti-inc.com or by calling 888-779-5314. They've already helped over 45,000 customers in the United States with their cooking oil, so clearly they're doing something right. Now back to the episode. As you guys scale, you've got living organisms and things like dough that's hard to make sure that it's exactly the same. You've got vegetables that may or may not be kind of exactly what you're looking for. I'd love for you to talk through kind of some of the learnings and how do you guys control consistency as you guys get outside the four walls, but also create an opportunity for this flair and, as you said, just the creativity at the unit level.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to standards, training, and really working with the right people, not only who we hire on our team, but who we're going to partner with in the franchising space. We need people that are equally creative and also, kind of entrepreneurial minded, of course, to take the risk to get into franchising. But we want folks that have that common shared value of like consistency wins every day. For us, a lot of that also has to do with the different equipment and technology selections that we've made to partner with over the years. One of those that really stands out above all is with Mara Forney, our oven producer, who's right down the road from us here in Maryland. They are really an incredible partner, and they've come a long way in terms of the technology of the ovens that are rolling out as we expand, across the Mid-Atlantic into the Southeast and beyond. We are now using these ovens that are a hybrid of the wood fire and have the gas assist to support the consistency, and they rotate. So these ovens, you're not necessarily needing, myself or somebody that's cooked 250, 300,000 pieces and their pizza slinging career, if you will, to be there 5, 6 nights a week. Still certainly an art to it. There's still some things that you need to do in terms of moving it around, but the consistency of the oven, the way that, we set our temperature and have it, really on a little bit of autopilot, if you will, helps produce a consistent product over time that is scalable, not just, when you have the master in there. Well, and that was really where I was going with that. And I love that you guys have figured this out early because you guys are kind of on your way up in the franchising world. And I've seen too many brands over my career where they get all excited. They've got some. Chris has been working 200,000 pizzas. He knows exactly where the hot spots are, the cold spots are, how high he needs to lift the pizza in order to get the cheese the way he needs it to, all of those kind of things. The fact that you guys have invested so much time and effort into ensuring that you've got consistent product is huge. So I love that idea, and congratulations on figuring that out early because I've seen too many brands that screw that up. No, we're blessed to have them as a partner. I mean, they're 25 minutes from our original location in DC. So going to their test kitchen, moving pies around, trying different technologies. They've been a true growth partner for us, and we've purchased many ovens from them. So we're feeling good about keeping that going. That's amazing.
Talk to me a little bit about what the shops look like. You talked about the early onset, and it was a trailer getting pulled behind, I don't know, Big Blue, Baby Blue, whatever, whatever. I don't remember exactly what you called it, but I can't imagine that you guys are out, shopping for '67 Chevys with trailers behind them. So, talk to me a little bit about kind of what does a shop look like? Big, small, sit down, take out. Talk to me a little bit about kind of what is the experience when you walk into one of your guys' franchise stores?
Yeah, our footprint's pretty compact and cozy. The majority of our restaurants as we expand are in the, 1,400 to 2,200 square foot range. So you come in, there's going to be a counter on the right where if you're dining in and eating at a table, you're going to place your order at the counter and we're going to bring it to you. So it's limited service if you're ordering at the counter and dining in. Each of our restaurants also features a bar, which beer, wine, creative cocktails, liquor license is a part of the program, and having a beverage while you're hanging out. It's full service at the bar. So it's a little bit of a hybrid model. You're going to see a lot of reclaimed wood, of tin with our classic timber green that's also featured on our ovens. Old antiques, kind of local flair from the particular market where you're dining in, and it's laid back. There's no tile floors or anything, big veneers or this crazy ensemble back behind the bar. It's wooden shelves and chill mugs, kind of very homey. I think for us, less is more and kind of doing it your own way. Big piece of our expansion and what we are really front and center with when we're talking with our partners and prospective partners with timber is we're looking at franchising in the 85-15 lens, where 85% of your timber is going to look exactly how I described. You're going to come in, you're going to see the wooden counter, you're going to see your POS system, see the oven, the star of the show, and it's
Yep.
open. People are making the pizzas. It's fantastic. The layout's going to be generally similar, right? The wood's going to all resemble each other, the tables, the chairs. You're going to say, oh, this is a timber. At 15%, which we really push, really encourage, and I think is a attractive proposition for prospective franchisees, that's your local beers on tap. That's your local sports teams, pictures, and supporting whoever you're rooting for that year. Those kind of cool things that are only going to resonate in your market. I'm not going to come here from DC and Maryland and tell you you need to do X, Y, and Z and put up, our teams. And that's not it. It encourages the spirit of local collaboration, really makes every timber community centric wherever we're going to expand. And I think that's really resonated, the 85-15.
Yeah, no, and you're the first franchisor that I've heard say it that way, but I love the idea of, we've got a standard and you've got to keep your standards on the food and on the decor, some level of standard, but you also give the franchisee the capability to have the local favorites, whether that's the beer or the partnership with the barbecue place down the road. And, it's just it's a unique way that you guys have gone about it. And I love that idea of being able to do that. And so you talked about 15, 20, 15,000 or 1,500 square feet to 2,000 square feet. It primarily inline, and are you guys looking for a high percentage of people to be on prem, or you guys do quite a bit off prem? And again, I know different brands, and I'd love to share that because potential franchisors are sitting there going, "I've got a perfect spot. I need this." So I'd love to just kind of understand where that's at.
Yeah, perfect. Primarily inline, but definitely a little bit of a hybrid between kind of urban and cool cobblestone streets. And then, we are entering some centers that make sense for us. I think suburban markets and timber are an absolute perfect match, whether you're sitting outside a suburb of a major city like Atlanta or, anywhere in Texas, or, you're in kind of, cool downtown market and, by all the trendy restaurants. We definitely fit both models for that. In terms of our mix, a lot of pizzas do go out the door. We're about 50% dine in typically, with the other 50% being made up of, takeout primarily via Toast and online ordering, and then DoorDash. We're an exclusive partner with them. We've really leaned in and expanded our partnership with them. And they've been a growth partner with us. We're super happy about leaning into that. And a lot of pizzas get brought to people who are sitting on the couch via third party delivery. It's been wild to see. We've been brick and mortar for 10 years in DC, and the percentage each year of pizzas out the door has continued to climb up, especially post COVID. Really, you know,
Yeah.
kind of
Well, and the
changed
fact that you
everything.
guys have got such craveable, unique things that it sounds like much of what you guys do, while you can get kind of the classics, the cheese and the pepperoni, and you get kind of the no veto rule from people who are like, oh, we're having pizza. They want that. But then you got some of these things that are unique. It's like, hey, how do I make sure that I get it, especially in this crappy time of the year where we're having to be recording this kind
Oh
of
yeah,
in February of 2026, and so it's pretty ugly weather the last few weeks, especially up by y'all.
it's tough sledding. Even I came to Texas, believe it or not, via for a franchise and development conference 2 weeks ago, and it even trailed me down there. I've been to Texas and Carolina in the last 2 weeks, and I haven't
Oh,
seen above.
you're bringing it with you, dude. You need to stay home and not bring it back this
I
way
haven't seen
because it was
above.
pretty
I
brittle there
haven't
for a
seen.
couple weeks.
I haven't seen above 45 degrees, man. I'm hurting. Golf games even worse.
Say if it makes you feel any better, it's going to be 75 today in Dallas. So there's that.
Well,
Um,
congrats. You enjoy that.
you're like you can jump on a quick flight and get to somewhere warm.
Straight.
Chris, how do people learn more? Kind of what are you guys looking for? Again, in the franchising space, we've seen people do it every different way. From I need a master franchisee, and they're going to buy Texas and then build it out, or they're going to buy North Texas and going to build it out, and then you get the hey, you know what? We want to grow organically through people and they're going to commit to two or three of them. Do you need, do they need 20 years of restaurant experience? Do they, who are you looking for and kind of who's your ideal customer listening to the show that you're like, we need them in our system?
Yeah, it's great people and great markets. I think it's not. We're not at the point where we're selling 20 unit deals and hey, go develop Texas or California or what have you. We're growing intentionally with folks that we have aligned values with. The restaurant experiences can be helpful, of course, but it's definitely not required. I think folks that really get what we're trying to do and align with our core values of being very community focused, having fun with it, maintaining the high standards that we've set, and really embrace the scaling culture that we're extremely reverent about, right? You need to wake up every day, think about how you can be a good steward of the community, have an amazing representation of our brand. And those are the types of people we want to work with. I think for us, being very intentional about that and kind of careful about who we choose for our partners is exactly how we're, going to stay. And it's tempting. We've had plenty of folks reach out from us from X, Y, and Z markets that, kind of came in with the approach that, hey, I just want to do this because it's cool and we're going to make money and what have you. And it's a little bit surface for us. Really getting to know people and making sure that we're, in it for the same reasons, have some fun, embrace the community, and of course, ultimately, make money and grow wealth. If you check those boxes, then check us out.
Yeah, I appreciate all of those things we talked earlier about kind of the consistency of the product. The fact that you guys know who you're looking for is great. So if they want to learn more and engage with the team, Chris, how do they go about doing that? What does that look like?
Yeah, timberpizzafranchise.com. Website's easy to navigate. You can check out brand new blog that I just launched called Coach's Corner, just writing about life, sports, and business, kind of having a little bit of fun with that there. But yeah, timberpizzafranchise.com. Tons of info on there, and you can grab 5 to 10 minutes, talk shop with us, see if it's a good fit, and then we'll take it where it goes.
Awesome. Last question. If you have never been to a timber, you're listening, you see it, you're like, I need to go check it out. What is the one go to? And then what is your item? Because you've eaten lots and lots and lots of pizzas, and I'm certain it's something that's either off menu or one of those unique contributions that you helped make to the menu. But what is kind of the go to? Have to make sure you do this because you get there and you're going to be craving it for the next 6 weeks, kind of thing. And then what's the crisp pizza?
That's perfect. The top dog is the Bentley, as we described earlier. You got to try the Bentley. If you don't eat meat, try the Green Monster, assuming you like pesto. But one cool kid secret at Timbers, we do half and half pizzas. So if you want to try best of both worlds, half Bentley, half Green Monster, put your beverage of choice next to that. For me, I'm old school. I'm just rolling with the pepperoni. I like it a little well done, and I'll probably put a draft beer next to it since it's Friday.
Awesome. Well, Chris, I hope it gets a little bit warmer and you get to enjoy the time over the weekend. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for creating something that is so cool and unique, and I can't wait to go check it out next time I'm up in the area.
Thanks so much for having me on, Jeremy. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. To our listeners, guys, as I said at the onset, I know you guys got lots of choices, so thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the show and make it a great day.